Welcome to OkState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have a very special guest. The head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboy baseball team, Josh Holliday, for the first time joins OkState Daily. Josh, what an honor this is to get to catch up with you. I really appreciate you joining.
My pleasure. Yeah, I appreciate the interest and the educated information, great following, great detail that you provide our fans about our team and our players, and the insight. Appreciate the attention to detail and accuracy with which you cover our team. It means a lot to us that our team, our players, and the program can have just a great voice about what's going on inside Cowboy baseball, share with our fans so they can follow closely.
So is that how busy you stay as a head coach with your desktop icons?
Yeah, probably need a little desktop cleanup, but just a lot of years of documents and notes and things that you save over the course of time that you reference back to. And this has become an information age where there's lots of information, whether it's recruiting information, game day information, teaching information, whatever. And we use a lot of technology now. There's some tools out there that are really helpful that 5 years ago didn't exist, 10 years ago didn't exist. So, from year one, when I got to come back to Oklahoma State till now, you look back at some of the old records and scouting reports and notes that you have, and just how much things have changed is fascinating. A lot of the notes were originated through your hand, colored pens, rulers, graphing paper, and now they're beautiful 3D charts, computer-generated accuracy through TrackMan and these other things. So it's fascinating, all the information. Our job is to know the information and then boil it down into real usable form for our players so that come game time, the guys have enough information, but not too much, enough to go out there and get after it, but enough to kind of understand what we're up against, how to defend the other team, how we might attack the pitcher, things like that.
So the blessing and the curse of being from Stillwater, going to OSU, you love being here, obviously. It's big for you, for your family to grow up here. Brady's having a good year at Stillwater High School. That's a blessing and a curse because the highs are high, the lows are low. You play the emotional game. So this has been kind of that season too. Some great moments. Yeah. Some moments that, if I know you as well as I think I do, has probably kept you up at night. So kind of just give us your evaluation on the season so far.
Well, the blessings far outweigh any of the downside of anything that goes on with doing what you love. Unique opportunity in life to do what you love at a place that you love. So I would say for every moment of joy, multiply that times 10, getting to do it at Oklahoma State. As far as the season goes, I knew going into it would be a great challenge because we weren't going to create any cushion. We would jump right into the fire immediately. And sometimes that can be good, and sometimes that can be a challenge because some teams are ready for the instant, I would say, internal kind of battle with the game. Yeah. And some teams need some time to grow into the maturity level it takes to deal with the success and failure of the game. Our team certainly had that immediate challenge. It really started in the fall, Casey, when you look at, we went over to Fayetteville and played a doubleheader against an Arkansas team that I think is one of the best rosters I've seen in quite some time. The first game we went over there, and there are 5 guys they threw at us in game one were overpowering, and we were a little bit, quite honestly, not ready for that. But the second day, we responded well. And so really from the fall up until the start of the season, we'd already understood that going on the road and facing somebody elite is good for you. Week one, the tournament down in Arlington, back and forth Clemson game, good game against Louisville, and then a game against Texas where fundamentally we cost ourselves. You give a Texas team extra outs and they're going to make you pay for it. And then the Texas State game that Tuesday is probably a little bit of a trap game if you really look at the schedule. Those 3 big games in that tournament, then we stick around to play a game against a team that, quite honestly, is much better than the name recognition. They've then gone on to beat lots of teams since then. So probably just a good, challenging trip. I don't think we played poorly, but certainly 1-3 is not the result-oriented desire of the trip, but definitely got us going. Yeah. Only regret, really, in week 2 was that we didn't get the traditional 3-game series at home, which would have been nice. Right. We had to push it to a Sunday, Monday. And that kind of threw the rhythm of getting the games in, but played good. UT Arlington played good down there at the game in just south of Dallas there on our way to play in Houston, played good against Abilene Christian. I thought the tournament in Houston was really good for us. Tennessee, arguably one of the more talented teams in the country. We saw that firsthand. As I said down there, I don't think I've ever seen a game where that many fastballs were thrown against us, 95 to 101 miles an hour in college. That was a real velocity-driven, high-powered ball game in a great environment. I thought we competed well. They were just a little better. But the way we handled Saturday down there against A&M, fantastic ball game. Sunday was another really good game for us. And that was a good trip. I thought we took a big step forward in that trip. Probably where we just didn't get back into our mode was on the return from that. We were a little flat against Winthrop, but I'll give them some credit. They had a great pitch plan. We did not adjust quickly enough to it, and the split in that series was frustrating. The Illinois State series, 2 of the 3, we were overpowering. In 1 of the 3, the first game, we simply were off rhythm. They came after us. We didn't handle the Friday game well. But the doubleheader response was good. The game last night is just a tough one, simply because of how well we played in 8 of the 9 innings, and then we just didn't close the game out. But the way that Mario took the mound, the way that Weck took the mound, the way Drew Blake threw the baseball, the way Ryan Muir threw the baseball, some of the big swings we had, we played a good baseball game. What we didn't do is we didn't play the last 3 outs, which is critical to finishing it, and it was a tough loss. But I thought when they tied it up in the 9th, the way we responded to take the lead again was a step in the right direction. We showed some emotional resiliency right there that was very positive. But they were just, hey, give them credit. They found a way to win the game late. Frustrating for the result, but actually very positive in looking at some of the things that went on leading up to the end of that game. So we got to clean up a few things that we can correct. That's an encouraging thing. But some of the things we did well were really good.
So you have to look to the past to make sure you don't continue to make the same mistakes you make in the past. But you definitely are one, don't dwell. You like to move forward and have a positive attitude towards those things. So what do you do? What types of things do you do to instill that type of mentality in your kids?
Well, we talk a lot about, a process that you follow every day that day after day after day in due time helps you get to that desired result. But sometimes you have to look at the result and ask, okay, how did this result get created and what are we going to do to change it? And be pretty honest about it. Sometimes it's a physical thing, the way you're moving. Sometimes it's a mental thing, the way you're thinking. And sometimes it's a combination of the two. Last night's game, we probably talked as much about the mental side of what led to a couple of breakdowns that cost us more than anything. Early in the year, I think a lot of it was physically trying to get in the right position. So I think what you're looking at, Casey, is instincts as a coach of what buttons do we need to push, what do we need to spend some time on, and then reading the group. The group last night was, I would say, devastated from the standpoint of they fought really hard to get in that position to win the game. So that one stung. But positive, always yes, because I don't know that you can get to a level of excellence without great positive energy. That's something our team has committed to from the beginning, something that we believe in and always have. But honest and to the point about making corrections and honest about what do we need to do to change some of the mistakes that we're making, and then have those discussions with the guys. Be honest in terms of your thought process. Hey, was I thinking good here? Was I in the right headspace in this situation? Or was I putting a little too much pressure on myself? If I was, what's the nature of the thought, right? And then how to correct the thoughts and make sure that they're appropriate moving forward. So, yeah, it's a great game because I do think 9 times out of 10, the mental muscle involved has a lot to do with the way the body responds. Right. And so if the thoughts are clean, there's a chance that the body's going to respond good, and you got a better shot to win the pitch.
So I'll say it for you. Facts are facts. Like a Tennessee or maybe some SEC schools, they can go out and buy a 24-year-old that might be a first-round draft pick next year that's already ready, maybe at the AA level. We can get that same kind of talent here a lot of times, but it might be a high school kid that's 18. So there's a process there to get that kid up to that type of level. So how do you balance that process while still getting the results that OSU fans expect? Well,
I think the last 5 years have been some of the more transformative years about roster building, team building,
no doubt,
because of all the things that have gone on. You can look back to the COVID years where it extended the careers of guys because the COVID season cut the year short. The draft switched from 40 rounds to 5 for 1 year, and then now it's gone back to 20. The ability to open transfer kicked in, and then the difference of roster resources to build your team became drastically different all across the country. All that happened in a span of 5 years, and it changed everything as far as how you build a team. The traditional age of a team would have been, I would say, 18 to 22. Now I think a lot of teams look more like 20 to 24. If you make it your roster building philosophy to just recruit nothing but older, experienced players, there's become a cost in that in the college game that if our fans haven't followed it, involves a lot of summer recruiting in the transfer portal where there were no limits on the dollars being offered to older players. And so some teams have chosen to build from a model of older players, more experienced players, and players that were developed elsewhere, and try to kind of create super teams, if you will. We've benefited from some really good transfers, but what we've had to do in the last couple of years is go back to the basic roots of our program and try to build great players through the traditional recruiting cycle of high school players, where we're recruiting really well. Some really good junior college players that have come in here and been a great fit. That's always been a trademark of Oklahoma State. And supplement our roster where we can with the right transfer players. We might be a little younger and therefore a little bit inexperienced, and that can show up at times. But I will say this, we've had a great run of our own players from the standpoint of a 60-70% base of high school recruits, a good collection of great JC kids that bring something to our program of high value. Yeah. And then the right transfer players who've come here and really helped us. And you can look back at that and say, the outfield last year, you had Schubert, Zach Earhart, Carson Benj. Those are all kids that we were fortunate to coach for 3 and 4 years. When you look at some of the great additions to our pitching staff last year, Brian Holliday was a JC pitcher. Sammy Garcia was a grad transfer. We've had both homegrown players who have been here from the beginning and great guys that have plugged in and helped us build winning rosters. So it's a combination of things. From year to year, that has changed because the market for players and how we acquire players has changed as well. I really like where the roster's headed. There's a really good freshman class right now, establishing some really good touches on the mound. We've got some good young players contributing on the offensive side. There's been a few games where we've had a big chunk of freshmen and sophomores in the lineup, and that's very good for the future. Our 25 recruiting class on the high school side is a top 10 class in the country. There's some great baseball players in that group, and our 26 class has also been very, very good. So I think it's got to be a balance, Casey, because of the financial dynamic and building a championship team here at Oklahoma State and Stillwater needs to be a combination of all areas.
So let's get into this year's team. Gabe Davis, let's start with him. And I think it's not a secret that he needs to become the Friday night starter for this team, that he's capable of being. So what types of things are you doing to get him to that headspace? Yeah,
Gabe, I think most of our fans probably don't know, did not have the benefit of fall baseball.
Right.
He missed the fall with a couple of injuries that took some time to rehab. So kind of getting him into midseason form has been basically a January, February training session for him. He missed all fall. So, whether it's the Friday night start job or closing the games or whatever, we just need the best Gabe, because when he's right, he's a real weapon. We saw that last year. And he's working hard at it. Coach Walton spent a ton of time helping him kind of recapture a few things in his delivery that puts him in the right space to command the ball, but also in the right headspace to feel good about what he's doing, the confidence necessary to pitch in those big moments, which he's had. He's had a lot of big moments for us. So no doubt he's a weapon. He's a high-level talent, and trying to find mid-season form. And the work is there. The time's being spent. We just got to get the performance piece back together a little bit for him, and he knows that. Nobody wants that more than Gabe. I do think sometimes the fall is maybe undervalued or underestimated, the importance of the fall, because that's a place where adjustments and growth and development can take place without having to deal with the result side of things. And for a lot of baseball adjustments, the fall is key to those things. So just getting him back in line and dialed into midseason form has really been the sprint since January, is to help him get there. He's a big part of the staff. He's got elite stuff. and I think he's going to have a big impact on this point forward.
Talk about dialed in. Ryan Ure, after his Tommy John a couple of years ago, had a couple performances last year, showed some big stuff, but this year, the execution piece has matched the stuff. So Ryan Ure's been awesome.
Couldn't agree with you more. Ryan came in as a freshman. We thought this guy's got a tremendous upside. He got a good freshman start on things. And really going into his sophomore year, he his bullpen in early February felt a little something discomfort in his elbow, and to lose him as a sophomore was a blow. It was, because I think he was really on the right path. Cost him his sophomore year, and then really it made last year challenging to get him back into the mix because Tommy John protocol, and for a guy his size, there was a really important return to pitch mode that we needed to follow. And that kind of put him as a late March, April arrival back to the staff. And by that point in the year, we didn't get quite as many touches. So to have him healthy, he's really starting to find confidence and rhythm. His last 2 or 3 times on the mound have really been positive, and that's so good to see because let's just face it, Ryan's in year 4. He stayed loyal to Oklahoma State. He had a chance to sign last summer. He came back. He's a fantastic student. I mean, this guy's doing all the right things and putting in the time. So, real big return to have Ryan in this spot. And his innings are going to be high leverage innings from this point forward. Whatever the role is, they'll be high leverage innings, and he's really starting to become a weapon.
Gotta like the execution of Harrison Bodendorf. I mean, that's been fantastic. Hunter Watkins, Mario Pesca, experienced. They execute very well. Then they all bring something a little bit different. So that's been a really cool mix, hasn't it?
It has. We were very fortunate last summer when we had to kind of put the final pieces of our roster together. 2 high school arms that were coming in, Cash Mayfield and Braylon Doty, both first-round draft choices. So when you lose 2 high school recruits that you thought were kind of maybe 1A and 1B for the future, that left a pretty good gap. And then add to that just how good our bullpen guys in Molsky and Kranz were last year.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of arms going out the door, a lot of big innings going out the door. So we knew to replace that, we would have to go try to find some guys that had some experience. And we really, really landed some good ones. Harrison Bodendorf has been excellent, rock solid for us each time out. You mentioned Hunter Watkins, you mentioned Mario Pesca, and then Sean Youngerman. Yeah. Those 4 guys were really our June and July last summer of trying to solidify our pitching staff with some experience, some size, some stuff, and as you mentioned, some different looks. Harrison's unique release point, pitch mix, really tough on guys. Hunter, very different, tall right-hander, 3 different types of breaking balls. Really, really does some good stuff with the ball. Curveball, slider, cutter, fastball, learning the changeup. Mario, size, presence, experience, breaking ball, sinker, and then Sean, unique fastball properties, throws the ball really, really effectively up in the zone, and has added a great cutter since he got here, and an improved changeup. So those 4 guys, for us, when we looked at putting the final pieces of our team together, we were able to be aggressive and successful with the recruitment of those 4 older pitchers to complement what we thought we had coming back. And so, that's kind of how we got there. Really pleased with those guys. Their buy-in from day one's been excellent, and they've worked diligently on taking good elements of their pitching plan and improving them since they got here.
So let's put the pitching talk to bed. So just kind of in a nutshell, sum up what parts of the pitching staff this year are you pleased with? Like, hey, let's just keep it right there. And what parts do you think probably need to continue to improve?
Well, in addition to those guys, we've had tremendous impact from some good freshmen. I think Noah Weck has been good. Ethan Lund has got a chance to be excellent. He's still kind of getting his, I'd say, his pitch rhythm back. Stormy Rhodes has had some really good touches. So you start looking at our freshmen in terms of opportunities, what they've done with those opportunities. Matt Brown has shown some signs in a couple of his opportunities. I think Drew Blake has been the best he's ever been to this point. So there's a lot of things there that I like. And putting those quality pitch games one day after the next each weekend and into those Tuesday games is going to be critical. So I like where we're at. I think if we can get a few more bullets going to home plate, especially get Lund and Gabe going, those guys I think are real special talents. we're moving in the right direction for sure. And I think last night's game was a great example of that. So I like the direction we're headed. We've covered some ground. We're breaking in some good young freshman arms, which we haven't really been able to do that in a couple of years. So that's encouraging. I think to build the kind of continuity and stability in the pitching staff that we seek, good quality young freshman arms are a huge part of doing that. And that's definitely going on right now. So that's been a lot of fun.
So let's move to the offensive side just for a minute here. Of course, we know that Colin Brigham's having a tremendous year, and we know the premier hitter that Nolan Schubert is. Jason Jones, though, I think he's a big factor. So we know the talent. I mean, it's off the charts. We saw the Pete Incaviglia ball, the Griffin Dorsing ball he hit the other day, right? Yeah. So let's not necessarily talk about his talent. We know that. Let's talk about the type of hitter that he needs to be for this offense.
Well, and you know, speaking specifically about Jason has a unique ability to kind of go chalk line to chalk line. You know, he can hit a line drive to right. He can hit a ball in the right center field gap with authority, and he's shown some real pull side impact. So he has a chance to be a complete hitter. I think one of the things he's doing a better job of each week and each day is just becoming more and more consistent. Yeah. You're starting to get 2 and 3 and 4 quality at-bats per game compared to, say, maybe 1 or 2. You're seeing the ball put in play more. His situational hitting is improving. His confidence is growing. You know, he does have a lot of physical talent, but he wasn't a guy that got a ton of at-bats his first and second year. So despite the physical attributes, he's still getting the performance side of this thing under control. And I think you're starting to see that. Just thinking back to last night, he moved the ball well, put the ball in play, drove some runs in, kept the ball off the ground, stayed away from a double play opportunity and drove in a run. So he's starting to really sense the right pitches to hit. It's fun to see it when he gets into one because he does have pretty big measurable power. You mentioned the ball over the scoreboard. So he's a lot of fun. He's like a piece of really talented clay that's still getting into the right places. And when he does, boy, the results are fun. They're next level stuff. So consistency, I think that's where that's at for him. Day in, day out consistency, good self-talk, good confidence. And when he puts it all together, it's a legitimate middle-of-the-order run producer.
Reminds me of Cade Cabinet's like he's playing football on a baseball field. Sometimes you just got to calm the nerves a little bit and get him into more of that soft focus.
Yeah, his reactions to things are improving. At times he'll get a little emotional, and we've talked about that. He understands that. Yeah. I think it's just the competitor and the reaction to something that either you do or don't like. Trying to be a little bit more streamlined. Like you said, not be able to tell quite so clearly on the highs and lows and just stay right there in the middle, because when he's right there steady, the results have a chance to be very good.
So we know this offense is explosive. So for it to be consistent, it's going to need to be very long. It's going to need to lengthen at the top of the lineup, bottom of the lineup. So talk about how you get there.
Yeah, that's a very accurate observation. I think you get there by creating some on-base percentage at the top. Braden is capable of doing that. When he's on base and seeing pitches and creating good long quality at bats, it gives everyone an idea of, one, what we're facing, but two, helps us really dig in on a starting pitcher, and it puts him in his best mode, which is a high compete, high bat to ball guy. He can definitely hit the ball in the gap and occasionally hit one out, but Braden Smith's calling card is he's a good hitter and he's a good baseball player. And so doing baseball player type things, I think it starts there. The 2-hole was a spot where I kind of liked what Avery could do for us there until he gets back. He's out for a while. Garrett Scholl has been a really good fit in the 2-hole. Another guy who has on-base percentage qualities, good eye at the plate, switch hitter, so the unique ability to flip around. To have people on base in front of Nolan, Jason, and Colin, where those guys have formed a good middle of the order. That's a tough gauntlet to see. Two big left-hand hitters, a big right-hand hitter, and obviously losing Aiden Hurts because he was the perfect back end of that. There was some experience, there was some know-how, there was definitely some toughness, size, and strength. Hopefully Colin Ritchie jumping back in there and LaSalle, those guys match up and fit in those spots, can get us 6 strong, and then the length in the lineup you speak of will be the offensive contributions of Ian and Bo at the catching position. Brock Thompson's a good freshman player. Yes. He's going to be real good. He just has to continue to grow. He's seeing some things that not many freshmen have seen. We've seen some elite left-handers. High school seniors don't see a lot of elite left-handed pitching. It's just a rare discipline to find in baseball. Left-hand pitching's hard to find. Elite left-hand pitching's even harder to find, and we've seen a lot of it. So he's adjusting. But I really like, where he's going. He's got a chance to be a fantastic player. He's already shown glimpses of that. And then, kind of the offense that we can create at shortstop with Drew. I like some of the things he's doing, moving the ball. I like what he can bring to the base running side of things. It's a good quality defensive shortstop, and that's where the depth of the roster has to kick in. When you lose an Aiden and an Avery, and you lose them at the same time, you're looking at a little bit of a different alignment with your infield defense and your offensive structure. So hopefully the length to the lineup is created by moving the ball a little bit at the bottom of the order. But really, I think quality lineups are built on just good quality at bats, and you can make a good out.
Sure.
You can have a good at bat and maybe not even get on base, but burn 7 or 8 pitches and hit the ball hard and make the guy work to set up the next guy. So it just needs to be some sequence of 1 through 9, continuing to challenge pitchers, adjusting quicker when they go to the bullpen, I think, and continuing to limit the strikeouts and become more contact oriented. I think those things all kind of run together when you're starting to say, hey, an offense is starting to gel.
Yeah. So strikeouts and walks go together, because to walk, you have to go deep in the count. The deeper you go in the count, the more likely you are to strike out, because you're not hitting the first ball you see, right? So
correct.
Is there a certain ratio that you're okay with, or is that day-to-day for you?
Well, ideally, I'd like to walk more than we strike out.
Yeah,
I'd like the walk hit by pitch totals to be more than the strikeouts. That's been very difficult to achieve in recent years, whether it's a change in the way people are pitching, the swing patterns a lot of players are developing as young hitters are hard to adjust quickly to some of the contact principles that we demand. I would like to walk more, strike out less, for sure.
Yeah.
That being said, some of the luxuries that go with the hitting the home runs and having some of the size and power, which we've kind of grown to expect, but not realize there's a little bit of a trade-off with that, right? With every 480-foot homer, there's some length and strength that also can be vulnerable to certain strikeout
and aggressiveness
pitches.
you have to let them have, yeah.
Yeah, and so, is there a price to pay for getting deep in the count and drawing walks? Sure, there could be some strikeouts there. That being said, doesn't mean you don't work at it diligently. Sure. Doesn't mean you don't go into each game with a strategy of how you're going to create offense and try to limit the number of outs that are recorded with just empty strikeouts. Sure, that's something I'd love to see continued growth. That's the first thing we work on each day. You're always evaluating as a coach, is there a better way to work on it? Do we need to work on it differently? If we're working on it and not quite getting the desired result, how can you tweak it?
Sure.
But that being said, we've seen some high octane arms. We've seen some stuff go to home plate that is strikeout driven. So we got to find ways to combat that and keep working at it, no doubt. Not satisfied in any way with that.
Okay, let's button this thing up, Coach. The things that you like offensively, and then moving forward, what's the message for Oklahoma State baseball fans?
Oh, well, just stay with the team. I know people love winning and people are frustrated by losing. Understood. Nobody knows that more than the players and coaches. I hope you'll appreciate the effort that your players give you. I hope you'll appreciate the sustained success that the ball clubs have offered our fan base and represented us at the top of college baseball. Preseason expectations are wonderful. We've taken on a great schedule. We've had some good, some bad, some in between, but I can't get frustrated or discouraged about early season baseball. You have to be in this thing for the long run. And, I think, too, you got to appreciate what your ball clubs have offered you. In the last 5 years, I'm very proud of the cumulative success of our team. And while you always want more and we will always strive for more, we'll chase this national championship dream until it's reality. It would be a big mistake to not appreciate what your ball clubs give you in terms of joy, success on the field, competing for conference championships, winning Big 12 tournament championships. Things are hard to do. And you can't just become, frustrated if national championships and College World Series appearances aren't happening year after year and fail to embrace your players and embrace your athletes, because we got some special kids here. If you're frustrated and you want more, you can come see me. We'll buy you lunch and we'll talk about it, because I promise you, I share your frustration. But you need to appreciate the team. And great fans stay with ball clubs and teams and ride with them as they find themselves. And they end up making a difference in the team's success. Great fan turnout helps the team. Great support helps the team. Continuing to be behind the kids, it helps the team. So if it's your team that you're passionate about, stay with your team. Encourage the kids. Be supportive of the kids. They're putting themselves out there every single day. And like I said, if you're frustrated and you want to come talk about it, I'm pretty easy to find right here every single day, and embrace all fans' opinions of all types. Nobody's more determined and committed to the long-term success of this team than the people that are here every single day serving this program. And I take that very personally, very passionate about it. And by no means, like I said, I think the idea of going undefeated, the idea of it being easy, and the idea that it happens year after year without work, while that would be great and that would be nice, that is not the reality we face. And we're growing a good ball club, and we're breaking in some really good newcomers. And with that growth curve sometimes takes some patience and some positivity. So just got to stay with it. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. And I just really appreciate the people that are behind us, because we got a lot of tremendous fans, and I appreciate the people that have invested in us, because we have some amazing support. And appreciate anyone that cares enough to have an opinion one way or the other.
All right, Josh. I've taken a lot of your time, man. So I really, really appreciate this. Josh Holliday, thank you so much.
You bet.